Hey y'all, welcome to this week's lesson. This week is on heart space, fear space, and I'm going to throw in a little bit of head space too. So you've probably heard me talk about heart space before, and maybe coming from a place of fear. Head space is like our logical mind. We want to think it through, we want to figure it out in our head. It's got to make that logical sense. And a lot of times, that's very beneficial, right? So here's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about getting into your heart space. That's the place where you are really in alignment with your authentic self, where you can tap into your powerful intuition. It's where you're going to feel this overwhelming sense of peace and calmness. And if you can spend most of your day in heart space, wow, your life is going to be incredible. But if this is all new and familiar to you, if you can get into your heart space, wow, you're doing a great job. So we make decisions from two basic kind of frequencies. And I'm going to say two very loosely. But on one hand, we're going to have love, heart, authentic self. On the other hand, we're going to have fear and inauthenticity. And sometimes we're going to get into our head space when our logical mind and our head don't belong in the decision making. Okay, so how do we do this? What am I talking about? And how is this going to benefit me? When you're in your heart space, this is where I make all my big decisions from. This is where I've made my best decisions from. Like, have you ever had that moment or that made that decision that makes absolutely no sense to you in your head, but you did it anyways and it turned out beautiful, right? That's making a decision from your heart space. That's making a decision from your intuition, from your highest self, from that all-knowing frequency, the universal consciousness, okay? How do we get into heart space? When you're really well practiced, you can kind of just vibe right into it and hold it. But for now, let's talk about that a little bit more. So the way I like to work with it and teach people how to get into your heart space, a couple ways. One, you're going to be there when you just feel really good. So what makes you feel really good? We talked about this during self-care, I believe. So what makes you feel really good? I know a lot of you in this group ride horses. Maybe it's spending time with your horses. Maybe it's going for a walk in the woods. Maybe it's journaling. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's taking a salt bath. So you're kind of like in that heart space in those moments. You've let go of all the stuff you need to think about throughout the day, all the stuff you've got to figure out, and you're just being, okay? That's your heart space. Now, when we need to, how do we get into that on command, if you will, right? Start with your breathing, all right? Start with your breathing, and let's try this for a little bit. So, unless you're driving or doing something that you need your eyes open in while you're listening to this video, sit for a moment, find a comfortable spot, and close your eyes. I'm going to do this with you. We're just going to start breathing. You're going to breathe in through your nose for the count of 4, and out through your mouth for a count of 4. Okay? Now you're starting to feel a little bit calmer as you start to really tune into your breathing. Then you can start to square breathe. Breathing in for the count of 4, holding for a count of 4, exhaling for the count of 4, and holding your breath out for a count of 4. Get it? Square, breathing, 4, 4, 4, 4. Anyways, okay, try it again. In, hold, out, hold, in, hold, out, hold. Now let's take it one step further, and where we really know we're going to be in our heart space. And you kind of are where you focus your attention. So as you breathe in through your nose, I want you to picture the air coming in through your heart. Just picture it coming right into your heart space, breathing it right into your chest. And you can breathe in for a longer amount, 5, 6, 7 counts. Fill up your chest. Really feel your lungs expand. Feel them expand so much that your belly needs to expand. And bring in all that amazing air, that life force, in through your heart. Now you're getting into your heart space. Now you're starting to feel a little bit calmer. Now you're starting to be a little bit more relaxed. You've started to forget about all the stuff that went down today, all the things you have on your to-do list still. You're forgetting about everyone else's needs, and you're just tuning into yourself. Now, keep up this practice. If you can spend 2 minutes a day doing this in the beginning, that's fantastic. Because the more time you spend in your heart space, the more comfortable you're going to be with it. And then you're going to be able to stay in that high vibrational heart space, that loving energy, automatically. And soon you're going to notice when you dip out of it. It won't be such a struggle to get into it, but you're going to end up going throughout your day and you're going to notice something, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I feel funky. And you're going to, excuse me, and you're like, wow, that feels really weird, unfamiliar. And that's your inauthenticity. So you've stepped out of your heart space, you stepped out of authenticity. Now, most of us live in inauthenticity. That's why you're in this group. That's why you're learning these lessons, because you've been living this inauthentic life, and it's been a struggle. It's been hard. It's been not how you prefer. So really finding our authentic self is going to be the key. Now, let's talk about making decisions from a heart space versus fear space, and a little bit about our head space. So when we make a decision out of love, from our heart, from our authentic self, you know it's going to be for the highest good of all. And if you have a decision to make, you can always ask that you are led to make the decision that's for the highest good of all, right? But if you're going to make it, most of us spend most of our time making decisions out of fear. Going to college, we all think that's a great thing, right? But if you make the decision to go to college because you're afraid you won't get a job, you're making that decision out of fear. And it's going to turn out funky, and maybe you'll go to college and you'll even do well, but you won't get the job you want, right? If you make a decision to go to college because you want to enrich your life and you want to educate yourself, do you feel a difference there? Between I'm going to college because I'm scared what's going to happen if I don't, or I'm going to college to enrich and educate myself. There's two different energies attached to those intentions, and you're going to get two different results. One's going to be authentic and beautiful and amazing, and one's going to turn out kind of funky, right? So think about what decisions you've made from fear and from love. Another way to think about this is if you're making a decision, think about one possible choice and then feel your body. And this goes back to our awareness lesson. Like, what am I feeling in this moment? So you got to feel your body. Does your body suddenly feel dense and heavy? That's coming from a place of fear. Does your body feel light and airy and free and almost like you're about to float away? That's when you're making your decision out of love. So we always want to make a decision out of love versus out of fear. From a light feeling versus a heavy or a dense feeling. And then there's our headspace. And sometimes when something is really important to us, our logical mind insists on taking over. And when it's really close to us, it can be really hard for us to get into our heart space to hear our intuition because our mind is so insistent on making this decision from its headspace. So there's two techniques I can use. First of all, you can try it on your own. Do your breathing exercises, do something that really gets you in a high vibrational state and really feel into it, get into your heart space, and then make the decision when you're in that high vibration. If you're still stuck, your intuition knows all the right answers. All the answers are for the highest good of all. Okay? So what you can do is actually get a friend, a partner, a family member. It could basically be anyone. And you know the questions you need to ask yourself. So write them down on a piece of paper for your friend. And then you do your breathing exercises and really get into your heart space. Keep your eyes closed. And then ask your friend, when you're in that space, to ask you the questions you laid out. And you're going to get the answer. The answer is just going to pop into your head because it's going to help you leave that headspace, leave that space of fear and scarcity outside the decision making. And so when you're hearing the question from the outside, sometimes it's easier for the intuition to pop up instead of when you're using your brain to ask you the question that you don't want your brain to answer, right? So you can always turn to me, turn to one of the fellow members in this group. I encourage you to reach out and talk to each other if that's comfortable for you, if that feels right to you. You can always reach out and talk to me as well. And, maybe just asking a family member or a friend to do this is going to rub this stuff off on them a little bit. Wouldn't that be cool? They'd be like, what are you doing? Why are we doing it this way? And then you can explain it to them. I always say the best way to learn something is to teach it to another. Okay, so I think that basically covers everything. Breathing techniques to get into our heart space, knowing what gets you vibing high to get into your heart space, understanding fear space. So when you're making a decision, ask yourself why you're choosing what you're choosing and see what the intention is behind the choice. That can just shift. You can make the same choice, but shifting your energy from coming from a fear-based motivation to make that choice and then from a love-based motivation can make the outcome of that choice drastically different. And coming from a love and a heart space, authenticity space, it's going to be so much more beautiful, I promise you. And then understanding that we have that headspace, that ego, that logical mind that's going to try to figure it out for us because it loves us. It really is trying to actually help us, but it's limited. Where your intuition, there are no limits to your intuition. So it always has the answer. Your headspace sometimes has the answer, but your heart space will always have the answer. Okay, that's it for today. Post questions below if you have them. We'll do another Q&A in a little bit. And I love you. I'm so proud of all of you that are working so hard on your growth. And I will see you next week.